I'm Julie Zenner along with Pamela Fish, and here's what's coming up on Almanac North.
UW Superior has entered into an agreement with a French university for a student exchange that will benefit both schools and their students.
Paying for college is a big hurdle for many families, but taking advantage of Minnesota's college savings plan could make a big difference.
And the public has been asked to participate in a Geotourism project backed by the National Geographic Society.
These stories, the business news, and more next on Almanac North. Hello and welcome to Almanac North. Thanks for watching. Pamela Fish is in this week for Denny. Pam, welcome.
Well, thanks for having me. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, it's really fun to have you. We're glad you're here, and you can take it away. We'll get to our first guest.
All right, will do. Thanks, Julie. Well, the University of Wisconsin-Superior has made a French connection. Earlier this month, the school signed a partnership agreement with the University of Le Havre, located on France's Normandy coastline. The agreement includes a student exchange that will begin in the transportation and logistics programs at both schools and could grow from there. Here to tell us more is Dr. Richard Stewart from UWS Transportation and Logistics Management Program, and Virginia Donovan is Assistant Professor of French at UWS. Thanks so much to both of you for being here. I want to start just by asking you to tell us a little bit about what the Transportation and Logistics Program is. What happens when you get a degree in that?
Well, I think to start, what you have to ask yourself is, what can you do without transportation? And very quickly you find out that transportation logistics is the great hidden empire worldwide. All of our goods have to move. Everything we wear, eat, gets moved around the world in various ways by all the modes of transportation. And we educate the students how to manage and operate these systems. And that's in the essence of what the program's about.
So bringing that together with the French program sounds like a real unique mix. How did that come together?
Well, we were contacted by this university in Le Havre, and they suggested that we have some kind of partnership because they have a transportation logistics department as well as we. And so we followed the path of connecting with the international office, and we thought about it, and I wrote up a proposal and I presented it officially to Richard and also to the international office and other people, and we moved forward with it, and there was much back and forth between us and Le Havre, and we signed the agreement in May.
So what will that partnership look like when it really starts flowing? Will UWS students and staff be going over there and vice versa, or how do you visualize it?
What? Go ahead.
Okay. Yes, our students will be going over there, and their students will be coming over here. They have 175 students right now studying transportation and logistics in English, and they're anxious to continue their education here in America. We are the only university in America that they have an agreement with, a partnership, and so they're really, really excited about this. We too will be sending students over there, and that will be my job to train them in French to make sure that they have the vocabulary and the business understanding to prepare them to be over there.
Is this a very similar or dissimilar curriculum that they'll be studying in
The
each
curriculum,
place?
in many ways, is quite comparable to our curriculum. However, the transportation systems that they use in France and we use in the United States are not necessarily comparable. We don't have many high-speed trains that are doing 280 kilometers an hour or more. So the opportunity for our students to study the high-speed train systems, They run not barges, but special boats that are run by families up and down the Seine and the other rivers. We don't do that. In turn, they come here to Superior, which is just an absolute gem of a place to study transportation logistics. They'll learn about pipelines, which they don't have and we have here. They'll learn about bulk shipping, which they do very little of their port and we do a great deal of. They'll learn about different modes of transportation, interstate highway systems, which are not the same that they have there. So there's this cross-pollination and technology transfer.
Mm-hmm. And that will benefit both communities, and both sets of students, I imagine.
And the faculty who are involved with this also.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We learn when the student comes into our classroom and I start to talk about what goes on in France, and I want to have the student say, Dr. Stewart, no, they don't do it that way anymore. They do it this way now. And that way everybody gets educated.
Are students in transportation and logistics very likely to study a foreign language, and how often is it French?
I would think it would be very important that it be French. We have a lot of Canadian students who come here to UW Superior, and they all speak French. They all take French there. French is a global language. It's not only spoken in France and Quebec and Louisiana, but the Caribbean, South America, all over Africa, and even French Polynesia. It's a global language. It's a very important language.
Of course, our port is such a transportation hub. Is there a lot of commerce going between our port and French-speaking communities where this would really benefit students who might want to stay here and work in our port in some capacity?
Our trade through the port does go to Northern Europe, which includes ports in France, and so there is some trade direct with there. It also goes down to North Africa, so you're going to Dakar and areas which are also French-speaking. So yes, there are opportunities there.
Mm-hmm. What about the benefits of just increasing the international presence on the campus? How is that going to help UW Superior and the students who attend there?
Oh, it's absolutely wonderful. Having the different perspective, the different culture, they have different, even different gestures, different customs. And it helps to give that multicultural experience that is so important in opening people's perspectives to the world and making us global citizens.
Mm-hmm. Could there be opportunities somewhere down the road to maybe even develop some sort of a sister university type of a relationship where it really expands beyond what these first baby steps might be? Absolutely,
that's my plan. That's my goal, because the University of Le Havre has more than just transportation logistics. They have it's basically 3 different domains. It's science and international affairs and literature and languages. And so there would be plenty of opportunity for students to go and study in other places than only transportation and logistics, but this is where we're starting, and it's a great place to start.
So this could expand into other degree areas then between the 2 colleges?
Yes, absolutely.
Do you have any sense of what the next one might be?
French.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you so much for coming in to talk about this tonight. We really appreciate it, and we wish you success with the project.
Well, thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you.
Now, let's dig into our news file archive for a look at what was making news 25 years ago this week.
Starting out as a child actress in the old Our Gang series, Margaret Carrie Wilcox worked with some of the greats in the movie industry, acting with Mickey Rooney and doubling for Elizabeth Taylor in National Velvet. But she's best known as the voice of over 1,000 cartoon characters. Her first real start was as the original model for Tinkerbell in the movie Peter Pan.
Well, what they wanted was someone to actually perform the scenes that Tinkerbell was going to do. They would photograph it on 16mm film.
The modeling completed, she was then asked if she could do voices.
So they took me in and they stood me in front of a microphone, an old-fashioned microphone, really, and they showed me what the mermaids were going to look like. And so I said, I think one of them should lisp. And they said, do it. So I said, all right. Oh, Peter, I'm so happy to see you. And they said, okay, that's a good one. Now give us another one.
Other animated features, commercials, and television work followed, but her first love remains cartoons. She's excited by the advent of computer animation and what the future will bring.
All animators are crazy. They're all nuts. They're all stupid. They're all wonderful. They're all lovable. They're all brilliant. So what are they going to come up with? I have no idea, and I can hardly wait.
Teresa Bryant, KDLH News.
Changes are coming to Minnesota's college savings plan that could make it more attractive than ever for parents saving for their child's education. For many of us, the high cost of college tuition has become a real impediment. But planning now could make a real difference in your child's future, and it doesn't take a big investment to get started. Joining us now is Robert Stern, the Minnesota College Savings Plan's Program Manager. And thanks for being here.
Oh, thank you. It's my pleasure.
Yeah, many Minnesotans might not even know that there's a state-sanctioned college savings plan. Maybe
that's right.
Can you start by telling us about it?
Well, we like to say it's the best well-kept secret in the state. The plan has been in existence since 2001. There are 33,000 plus account holders, over 60,000 accounts. One of the reasons, though, that people don't realize that it's there, I think, is if you were to walk into an advisor's office, say a Wells Fargo or a Ameriprise or whatever, odds are the advisors won't tell you about that because our plan is direct sold. And so it's the consumer needs to figure out that it's there and then sign up for it themselves on our website or by calling. So.
And why would they choose to do that as opposed to using another plan?
Great question. Well, all 529 plans, but specifically the one here in Minnesota, the big draw is the tax savings. So all of the earnings that you have in a plan like this, when you take the money out at the end to use it for college, you get to take it out tax-free. And that can be really substantial for people. It can be, if say you've put in $10,000 and at the end you have 25, you basically get to take that 15,000 out tax-free, and you would have had to pay taxes all the way along if you'd done it yourself. So that's one of the reasons that these plans are very popular.
And is the risk managed in these so that people don't wind up contributing and then losing all of that money that they want to save for their college?
Right. There's a whole menu of investment options. They range from what we call the guaranteed option, which pays 1.2% now, which isn't high, but it's much better than you could get, say, at a bank at a money market. But then, of course, we have options at the other end of the spectrum, which would be heavy stock market exposure. But the choice that 95% of our account holders choose is what's called the age-based managed option. And it's really very simple. You just put the age of the child in at the time that you start the plan, and then we manage it all the way along. And so obviously, as the child gets older, the amount of stock market risk is reduced, because if you've only got a short time to go, you'd want to make sure you don't suffer the type of problem we had, say, in 2008.
So if you jump in at 17.
Well, you know, it's funny. We get that question a lot. People say, well, is it too late?
Right.
And I always say, you know, every dollar that you save is one less dollar that you're going to have to borrow. And that's really the problem. I think we were talking before the show about how the average Minnesota undergraduate now graduates with over $30,000 in debt from the loans that they have to take, and so they're like starting out with a mortgage basically and no house. So anything you can save will help, even if the child is older. It's good to save whatever you can.
Is this region typical for when you talk about the average student and the average amount that you end up owing? Are we typical here in northeastern Minnesota?
Actually, you're a little bit above average, which is great. Our average account in the plan is a little over $18,000, and in your counties up here, you're anywhere between 19 and 25, so that's good. Obviously, with the cost of college rising as much as it is, though, everybody can always save more. You know, that's what one message that we like to get out there. One other thing I wanted to mention real quick, you can start one of these accounts for as little as $25, and sometimes people hesitate because they think, oh, I have to save so much, and that just paralyzes them. Right. And what we say is just get it going, and then once it's going, you're more likely to use it.
Now, both Pam and I have college-age students
Okay.
right now, and we were talking earlier today about how sometimes it seems like if you do save for your child's education, you're really at a disadvantage when it comes to financial aid. Is that a real concern, or is that just my experience or my perception?
You know what? That's a very common perception, and it's actually right at the top of the list of what we call myths that we need to dispel. The first 75,000 or so that you put into a plan like this has virtually no effect on your ability to qualify for financial aid. Now, obviously, if you've saved, say, 200,000, well, that's going to make a big difference. But again, with the average being only 18, that's not a problem. But that's a very good point, because that is what stops people. They think, oh, well, if I put aside anything, that will hurt my chances for financial aid. The one thing I will tell your viewers that is really crucial: whatever money that you save, you want to avoid putting it in the UGMA or UTMA accounts where they're actually in the child's name, because those do count dollar for dollar against the financial aid contribution. But with the advent of these plans, you see less and less people doing that.
And just real quickly, what happens if your child decides not to go to college?
Well, that's another question we get a lot. The first thing you want to do is, if your one child decides not to go, these plans are so flexible that you can change the beneficiary. So you can change it to another child, you can change it to your spouse, any blood relative, really. And so that's what you want to do. If for some reason at the end of the line, though, you say, you know what, I really want that money back, we want to go on a vacation or buy a boat or something, well, then it's almost like a retirement account. You would pay a 10% penalty and the income would be taxable. But again, that doesn't happen too often.
All right, well, it's never too early to start saving. Well, and thank you for coming in and sharing some information.
Oh, it was my pleasure.
Really
Thank you for having me.
Yeah.
Appreciate
Thanks
it.
much. A project with the support of the National Geographic Society will put northeastern Minnesota and northwestern Ontario on the Geotourism map. The interactive map guide will highlight the region's scenic, cultural, and historic resources. The goal is to inspire geotourism to the region, and it is being guided by the Heart of the Continent Stewardship Council. Here with more is James Dion, Director of Tourism Programs for National Geographic Maps. And St. Louis County Commissioner Frank Jewell chairs the Stewardship Council. Welcome to both of you for being here tonight. We really thank you so much. I want to start, whoever wants to take this one, just to give people an overview of what geotourism is.
I'll let you. Geotourism is kind of our definition of sustainable tourism. It's tourism that sustains or enhances the geographical character of our place and helps support the aesthetics, culture, heritage, and environment of our places, and enhance benefits for local people from well-managed tourism.
Now, James, you mentioned earlier that you're doing this not just here, but all over the world.
We've been doing these projects since 2006. We started off just doing hard copy map guides, and as technology changed, we've been able to branch out and develop websites, mobile applications as well, because more and more people are online and using social interactivity to bring the faces of local people in front of prospective travelers so they can share their stories and what they want to be able to accomplish through cultural exchange and tourism and visiting places. So we've done 17 of these in 12 countries since 2006. Right now we're working on the Heart of the Continent binational region here with Canada and Minnesota. Also have a project going for the archipelago of San Andreas and Colombia, the eastern provinces of Sri Lanka. and the out islands of the Bahamas. So it's been pretty interesting as, you know, we look at places and a lot of times we have the same common interest and some of the same obstacles, especially in travel and tourism, of how people can better benefit from more and more people traveling to more and more places, and how much information that's out there to be able to direct people to have ways in which they can travel to places that are going to benefit local economies, help to sustain and make our communities viable, and then enhance the visitor experience for people that come here.
And of course, the website, the interactive website, is only as good as the information that is put into it. And so there's been an appeal to try to get people locally to nominate some of their favorite places to include. How successful has that been so far?
So I think quite successful. We actually went through all of them on Thursday to look to make sure they met the requirements, that there weren't any mistakes. There was a group that met over the last 2 days. And there are a wonderful assortment of 250 that are there now, and that will grow over the next few months. And they go from things like a pumpkin fest outside of Thunder Bay to the Dorothy Moulter Museum, you know, just a wide variety of things. We could really use some nominations for great eating establishments in the region, which haven't shown up yet.
But we don't have any.
Yeah, I think we have some great ones. You know, so those are the kinds of things. But Jim actually has been here since Sunday and did circumnavigation of the heart of the continent, which really showed him some of what we have to offer.
What were your impressions?
Oh, incredible place. You know, water everywhere, and so many different ways that you can use water here. It's flowing, it's standing still, it's falling from the sky, it's lapping at your shores, and then the communities that are between that, everywhere from Rainy Lake across the Quetico in Canada down to Thunder Bay. We did a beautiful trip along Thunder Bay in a sailing boat, then along the north coast from Grand Portage all the way down and across to Ely. And kind of the thread that held it together is people living in proximity to water and how that enhances their lives and how it tells their story. And your history is so intertwined with the voyagers, and people today are kind of modern day voyagers in a way, living in some of these outlying towns and, you know, eking out and having a really, really neat lifestyle based on the incredible cultural assets that are here. So it was a wonderful experience.
How did the heart of the continent come to your attention?
Well, yeah, you know, the history of this is we've done some work with the Conservation Fund, and they're working with the Heart of the Continent project. So we kind of had an introduction through them, and I gave a presentation in Thunder Bay to your meeting about 3-4 years ago.
2011, yep.
And we've been working to try to make this project happen since then, and finally all the stars aligned this year, and we've been able to get this effort off. And what's great about it is these projects never end. You know, the life cycle is infinite. When you build a website, it's co-branded with National Geographic, we're now married to the Heart of the Continent, as we are with all of the projects that we have going on. So we'll continue this relationship. We'll be adding new information. We'll be always searching for local knowledge of the places most respected and recommended by local people, and that's a dynamic. So this partnership is just the first step now is getting this website up.
And Frank, why is it important in northeastern Minnesota? Why is it important to our area beyond, you know, bringing tourists in and
Well, I think the mayor of Duluth said it best when we asked if Duluth would become part of this. He said, we want people to see this as a place they can come visit, but they can also come to live, raise a family, build a business, and work. And that is true across this entire region. We are really saying, and part of this is a wonderful community organizing possibility, but organizing across communities, reaching out to people we don't know. I mean, I can't tell you how many places I've been introduced to and people I've been introduced to because of this and the work that we've done to just reach out, which has been really a powerful piece of this. So National Geographic talks about it as this piece that ends up with a website, paper map, but for me, it's this community building that is most powerful about this.
And who is going to maintain this? Because, you know, of course there are some things that are always going to be there, the water and the trees and the, you know, some of the landscape. But restaurants come and go and attractions come and go. Who makes sure that it's current?
That's why the partnership's so important with the Heart of the Continent Partnership, is they're going to be the curators and the stewards of this project. We actually call them our Geotourism Stewardship Council. So that's this long-term relationship. together with
And
our
I think there are 3 entities in particular: the City of Duluth, the City of Thunder Bay and their tourism department, and the IRRB will be key to assuring that this continues on.
And when will the interactive website be up and running?
December of this year. That's kind of our goal, and hopefully we'll be back maybe to talk about it when we're ready to roll it out.
We look forward to checking it out, and we want to thank you for coming in to talk about it tonight.
Thank you.
Thanks much. It's time for the week's business headlines from the folks at Business North. Scientists at 2 universities agree that asbestiform fibers are present in the ore that Gogebic taconite hopes to mine in northwest Wisconsin. Asbestos fibers are linked to mesothelioma, which causes an aggressive lung cancer. That makes busting up the rocks in at least one area of an open pit mine a potential public health threat. Gogebic taconite believes everyone is jumping to conclusions, but in December, the DNR said the science proves it. GTAC spokesman Bob Seitz says that in the end, they'll abide by the science.
Duluth commercial property owners will pay a fee that ranges from $50 to $300 each month to maintain city streets. City councilors decided Monday the added revenue is needed to bridge a $6 million funding gap that emerged with the loss of Fond du Luth casino payments to the city. Addressing councilors, Chamber of Commerce President David Ross said businesses are being charged a disproportionate amount. 3 councilors, Zach Filipovich, Jay Fosley, and Howie Hansen, voted against the measure.
Greater energy efficiency and energy independence are vital to the economies of both the United States and Canada. That was the message Canadian Ambassador to the United States Gary Dewar brought to a luncheon in Grand Rapids on Thursday. Topping the list of conversation topics were the controversial Keystone XL pipeline project, the Great Northern Transmission Line, and Manitoba Hydro. Dewar cited 4 elements necessary to achieve that goal: energy efficiency, renewables, gas, and oil. For more on these and other stories, visit businessnorth.com.
And you can have the final word on this week's show. Dial 218-788-2849 and leave a message. Or send your comments in an email to almanacnorth@wdse.org. And visit our website for the latest program information or catch up on the shows that you've missed. And Pam, thanks so much for filling in this week. It was really great to have you here.
Happy to do it, and glad to see you, Julie.
Yeah, it was fun. A program note before we go. Next week there will be no Almanac North program due to the 4th of July holiday. Our next show will be Friday, July 11th. For Pam and the crew here at Almanac North, have a great weekend and a great Independence Day.